Greetings and salutations, people of the internet. Austin here. As of writing this script, we hit over 150 subscribers on YouTube. I want to thank everyone who has subbed to me over the years. I cannot thank you enough. I hope I continue to improve and give y'all better content in the future. Today, we're going to cover the most unique Fakemon region in my catalog so far. Unlike the rest of my Fakemon regions, this is not based on one particular country or continent if I'm feeling particularly stupid. No, this is based on animal preserves across the board, serving as a safe haven for rare or nearly extinct Pokemon from all around the Pokemon world, so they can be brought back to a stable population before being reintroduced if they can. I wanted to mix things up at the time, so without further ado, starting in June 2022, I welcome you, one and all, to the Kyria Preserve. Rairu, the charging Pokemon. First up, I think this Pokemon is probably the best base stage starter of the three in this region. It's adorable. It's got some pretty good proportions and colors, so I don't think I'd change too much about it in the reboot. Maybe make the horn a tad longer. Food for thought. Rhystone, the rock horn Pokemon. This is the weakest middle stage of the three, but it's not by much this time around. I think the colors could stand to be a bit more vibrant, and the textures will really make the rock segments pop. This is an okay Pokemon that just needs a few tweaks here and there. Rhysskewer, the stone spear Pokemon. I'm definitely going to need to make this thing chonkier in the reboot. It's too skinny for the type of Pokemon I imagine it to be. I think this has an interesting silhouette, probably the best out of the three, and it will really benefit from my new rendering style that I cultivated since then. Caterize, the devilish Pokemon. I wanted this Pokemon to be more malicious looking off the bat to differentiate itself from Litten, especially since they share the same typing in the final stage. I know, spoilers. I love the little scarf I gave this Pokemon. I think it adds a lot to the overall design. Fiendline, the Inferno Cat Pokemon. This is neck and neck with Rhystone as the weakest middle stage, this only not being last because I think this has a better color scheme compared to Rhystone. I need to tweak said color scheme a little bit there to help serve as a better transition to the final evolution. Lucifer, the Dark King Pokemon. No joke, I made this entire Pokemon line just to use that name. My dedication to pun Pokemon names can never be doubted. This is easily the best stage of the trio final evolutions. I just need to tweak the leg proportions and this Pokemon is set. I had to make this Pokemon line my starter. I just had to. Pretension, the eye-catching Pokemon. This is probably the most clever line across the board of the trio. Having an overall through line with each stage, this really doesn't need that much in the way of changes. I just need to tweak a few things, maybe smooth out the line a little bit more so it looks more cutesy. This little guy loves attention, something it shares with the rest of its line. Shiration, the Pom-Pom Pokemon. This stage is based on the Pom-Pom Crab and is easily the best middle stage of the three. It uses coral as its pom-poms, which could stand to be brighter color-wise, all things considered, and also slight pose change couldn't hurt. But still, this is a great Pokemon. Crustacean, the model Pokemon. Based on the Decorator Crab, this Pokemon tries to be as eye-catching as possible, and will decorate its shell with whatever it can find. I love the aloof expression I gave it, befitting of a model. I just need to tweak the saturation of the colors, and this Pokemon is just perfect in my eyes. Toxin, the musk dog Pokemon. This line is based off of mush dogs, native to South America. I made the line a poison type due to the horrid smell of the bush dog's musk. Overall, I think the design is okay, but the proportions and the pose could really use some tweaking. Musclaw, the toxic slash Pokemon. Honestly, just making this Pokemon have more of a 3/4 view will pretty much fix most of the major issues I have with the current design. Minor proportion tweaks here and there, and we got a winner! Burrowworm, the ambush worm Pokemon. This line is based on tiger beetles, with this being the larva stage. I love the colors and overall design of this line, but I feel like I could make this one a tad smaller, maybe by taking off 1 or 2 segments, and it'll be perfect. Pewpetal, the Steel Cocoon Pokemon. I swapped the ground for Steel type to better play off of the rest of the line, especially with the Tiger Beetle's metallic sheen and coloring. I like parts of this Pokemon, but this will definitely need the most work when I get to the eventual reboot. Cindalloy, the Iron Knight Pokemon. I have no notes for this Pokemon. I think this is probably one of the best designs in this entire region. Some metallic textures will really make this Pokemon pop. Maybe I could give it slightly bulkier lower legs, but that's besides the point. Humderbolt, the Lightning Beak Pokemon. Another Pokemon that really needs a 3/4 view and a more defined personality. This is an okay design, the top tier name in my oh-so-humble opinion. This and the evolution are going to need some serious work. Wizzap, the Lightning Wing Pokemon. Oh, the Lightning Bolt Wings were a mistake with this Pokemon. What was I thinking? The colors are too muted, the pose isn't interesting, and it's just meh overall. Kyria Preserve, the long leg Pokemon. This regional variant is based on the triangular spider, and is actually one of the more difficult designs to pull off. I think the pattern on the back could be simplified while still having the overall face patterning. This is an alright Pokemon. Tresfang, the skull spider Pokemon. Evolved from Kyria Preserve with a Dusk Stone, this is based on spiny orb weavers. I love this Pokemon so much. This is one of my favorite regional evolutions. The only thing I might do is make the purple body a tad darker. I really hope the cross-gen evolution for regular Ariados I have planned down the line is as good as this Pokemon. Obaseed, the rock seed Pokemon. This is based on the Obesa cactus. I made it a grass rock type because of the texture of the actual cactus. It looks like a rock to me, just looking at it. This Pokemon is alright, there's nothing terribly wrong with it. I just need to fix the eyes and maybe the leg to shell proportions. Throw in a good rock texture and we're golden. Obaspike, the Thorn Tower Pokemon. I made this Pokemon taller to really differentiate the stages along with the multiple head/bulbs. I think I need to move the back legs further perspective-wise, and this will be a pretty good design overall. Shervant, the Tidy Pokemon. This line is based on the Emperor Shrimp species, which constantly eats parasites off of their hosts. I decided to transfer that into keeping their hosts clean, so I made it a butler in this stage. The proportions in the eyes need the biggest change overall. I don't like how they look currently, but thankfully the colors and the overall design look pretty good to me. Arthropunch, the Bodyguard Pokemon. Evolved from Shervant once exposed to a combat stone. I threw some Mantis Shrimp into this thing's lore to help sell the fighting type easier, as it fends off parasites and predators from its host. This thing is now a bodyguard as well as a butler. The color scheme could use a bit of work, otherwise, this is a good... No, this is not a good Pokemon, this is a great Pokemon. What am I saying? Athosian Voltorb, the Crystal Ball Pokemon. The classification already says what I base these Pokemon around. Voltorb here is calm and collected as it looks into the future to see any would-be threats. They were removed from their original region, the Athos region, to help with their dwindling population numbers. I just need to redraw this Pokemon in my current render style and it'll be perfect. Athosian Electrode, the Crystal Ball Pokemon. This Pokemon is constantly stressed out from predictions of potential cataclysms and threats, so much so it can't contain its own psionic power. I need to redo the glass bottom of this design with the psychic energy leaking out. I think I can fix it so it just looks less pasted on here, then we'll be cooking with gas. Patronizard, the Arrogant Lizard Pokemon. This tiny little arrogant lizard will climb as high as they can just to look down on others physically and metaphorically. I'll save the usual proportion speech that applies to this Pokemon. Thankfully, the colors look really good here, so I don't need to change that. Drag Arrogant, the Sky Lord Pokemon. Evolved from Patronizard when exposed to a Sky Stone, this is based on gliding lizards. I wanted it to semi-resemble a paragliding suit, the pattern on the wings and the connecting joints. The only thing I changed is making some of the more muted colors more vibrant, and the perspective on the hands. Starzom, the Spirit Star Pokemon. Evolves from Staryu when exposed to an Ectostone. This is based on zombie starfish. The first proper cross-gen evolution of the Preserve. This is one of the better designs across the board. This thing is breaking down, consumed by the necrosis, so the faded color palette and broken jewel and the spectral leg segments really help bring this together for me. I just need better line work and rendering on the spectral arms, and this will be great. Chinchil, the snowsuit Pokemon. This line is based on chinchillas and is just adorable. I need to tweak the head position and size to really sell the cuteness here. Conceptually, I don't think I'd change a thing about this Pokemon. Maybe the ice at the end of the tail is a little bit of overkill. Cinchilla, the thermal fur Pokemon. This thing is perfect in my eyes. Its super dense furs traps all the heat so it can take constant snow baths just to keep cool. To reference dust baths actual chinchillas take, albeit for different reasons. I might make the head a touch bigger in the reboot. Nausicaan-centric, the scout Pokemon. This line isn't really based on anything in particular, to be honest. I just wanted to draw a ground-type regional centric line. Other than making the little mud fur wings underneath the arms bigger, I don't think I changed much about this Pokemon. I think it's executed pretty well for not having a secondary concept behind it, really. The Nausicaan Ferret, the long body Pokemon. From a drill to an excavator, this line specializes in digging burrows and complex underground tunnel systems. This needs small touch-ups here and there to really get the max potential out of the design. The eyes throw me off now. I'm definitely going to have to retool that in the future. Grabbit, the Tunnel Claw Pokemon. The evolved form of Nausicaan Ferret. First things first, Richter Scale's ability has been changed a few times since this region. It's now essentially ground-type Steelworker, more or less. I'm going to swap out Richter Scale for another custom hidden ability I created after the fact here. As for the design, no real notes. I think it's kind of perfect. Borurashi, the Thunderquill Pokemon. The weakest Pika-clone in my entire catalog. I believe I based this thing on hedgehogs or porcupines. I honestly forget which. This design is just so fucking basic compared to the rest of the Pika clones I got. Maybe an evolution would complete this line, I don't know. I have to seriously put in some hard work fixing this train wreck. Poitrel, the toxic puke Pokemon. This entire line is based on giant petrels. I definitely need to fix the proportions and make it feel more like a first stage baby Pokemon, that's for sure. Food poisoning is a very specific hidden ability that I honestly forgot about until now. Might be helpful to give it to a non-poison type Pokemon. Petrarial, the poison beak Pokemon. The evolved form of female Poitrel. This leads into the sadistic nature of petrels in the wild, as it loves to essentially make their prey suffer. The spike on their beak is coated in an intense toxin that will slowly poison their prey over time. I don't have many notes on the design itself. I think it is the stronger of the two potential evolutions. Petrarctic, the toxic ice Pokemon. The evolved form of male Poitrel. This Pokemon freezes the toxins around their body and begins slowly melting it to poison any nearby water-type Pokemon in the area. Now, this design needs some work. I think the colors work well, but I don't love the overall package it's attached to. This is going to be hard. Sawtile, the Buzzsaw Pokemon. Based on armadillo lizards and buzzsaws, as the classification spoiled, these things will race Donphan in the wild and will eat any whirlipede they come into contact with. The design is solid, but I think I need to work on the perspective since as it stands currently, I don't think everything lines up well. I will be definitely giving this thing sharpness in the reboot for its hidden ability. Kyria Stubble, the flailing Pokemon. This regional variant is based on gummy bears and is honestly one of the few perfect designs of the region, in my opinion. Some minor color touch-ups on the ear and a good texture will make this design pop. Kyria Beware, the strong-arm Pokemon. The next member of my in-game team, this Pokemon is damn near perfect. Some smoother line work and the aforementioned texture will complete this design. I love this line so much. Equivalus, the blank stare Pokemon. This is based on, and I shit you not, the idiot fish. Not joking, that's a real animal. This Pokemon is the definition of no thoughts, head empty. This Pokemon's overall design is fine, but I think the colors need a touch-up. The shiny should also probably be red to match the real-life animal's coloration. Lauceon, the sea parasite Pokemon. Evolves when hit by the move Infestation. Now it's probably going to be a Hive Stone evolution just for simplicity. Yeah, I made a Bug-type evolution stone down the line. I don't know if I touched on that or not. This design is based on the tongue-eating louse, with the parasite now in the driver's seat piloting the body. I really like how this Pokemon came out. The shapes and the colors all really mesh well together for me. Pyrangu, the Fire Simian Pokemon. This line is closely related to Oranguru, the two sharing a common ancestor. I like the pose, colors, and overall design. The only major issue I have is the lack of a visible personality, something I'll need to fix in the reboot. Otherwise, this is a solid little ape. Flameton, the Fire Shaper Pokemon. I based this Pokemon's ability around apes and other primates' ability to use crude tools to their advantage, so this Pokemon can freely shape the fire it creates into different tools. I did consider making this a regional Oranguru in the early passes of this region, but I felt like I could do more with it as its own Pokemon species. The only thing I change here is making the fire beard bigger and maybe having some more orange in the color scheme overall. Spoopup, the Mist Hound Pokemon. This entire line is based on a concept I've had for a while for a different project. A new take on the Hound of Baskerville from Sherlock Holmes fame. The exact details I'll share in the later stages. This Pokemon loves to hide in thick fogs of their homeland before jumping out to scare people. I think this is one of the strongest first stage designs I've ever done. Banhound, the Ghost Stalker Pokemon. This Pokemon can detect souls caught up in the ectoplasmic fog they can create at will. This is the concept I was referring to. The titular hound being able to conceal itself in the dense fog bank at will. I added the spooky green to break up the colors. I really love the little ectoplasm collar / scarf it's wearing. Basculhound, the Relentless Hunter Pokemon. I threw some Great Dane into the design to shake things up since I felt it would have been a weaker design if I had kept the same shaped ears and overall features of the previous two stages. These Pokemon were driven from their native region by angry residents because of their relentless stalking once they've settled on a target. I love the vertebrae along the back. I think it really helps break up the silhouette. Nactonian Purloin, the devious Pokemon. This regional variant is based on snow leopards. I just realized how much love I give the Purloin family. 2 regional variants and a split evolution. Either way, I can easily say this is one of the strongest regional variants of the entire preserve. I can't think of anything I would change about this design at the moment. Nactonian Liepard, the cruel Pokemon. Second verse, same as the first. I love how this design came out. The silhouette in particular really works well while still giving it the classic Liepard look. The only thing I'd add is a splash of the darker blue, probably at the end of the tail. Lilferno, the Fire Petal Pokemon. This line is based on the Flame Lily and was the first Pokemon I gave the custom ability Blight for. Flame Lilies are actually poisonous, so that's why I ended up creating Blight so I could reference that factoid while still keeping the current typing. As for changes I want to make to the design, I want to make the green more vibrant, and I do need to adjust the face placement just a tad. Pyriosa, Burning Cure Pokemon. Evolves from Lilferno once exposed to a Firestone. Now this design I don't want to change in the slightest. I think she is an absolute banger of a design. I modeled the hands to look like torches and to keep the shape consistency from the legs from the Prevo. I love her expression a lot. Really sells how much of an absolute asshole she can be. Thundle, the cloud fur Pokemon. At one point, I considered making this a regional Furfro, but I decided to make it an original Pokemon. These Pokemon are hard to work with, but they're useful for their ability to smell incoming weather. Minor pose issues aside, I think the design works really well. Minifang, the tiny deer Pokemon. Based on the Java mouse deer, you can already guess where this line's gonna go. Before we get to that, the only thing I would change are the eyes. I feel like they really don't emote enough for this overall design for them to work. Granted, that might work to its benefit with the creepy nature of this line. Vampire, the fang deer Pokemon, evolves from Minifang when exposed to a Duskstone. Yeah, it's another vampire mod, but it's based on a vampire deer, so I had to. First thing I'm changing is the color scheme. I really need to break away from the Dracula colors for all of my vampire mons. Aside from that, I think this is pretty good all things considered. Saddlespike, the spikeworm Pokemon. Based on the Saddleback Caterpillar, since I can be basic at best of times, I added an actual saddle on the back of this Pokemon. I think I need to cut back on the number of spikes in the reboot, even if the real-life animal basis has way more on its body. I kept the green coloring from the actual animal since I liked how it looked, and it made the main purple of the body scream, "I'm poisonous!" Toxicune, the poison shell Pokemon. Honestly, this one just needs better perspective, and it's good to go. I like the colors and the overall design, but the face and the spikes just don't add up with the current pose. Venomwing, the toxic moth Pokemon. Just a solid moth Pokemon overall. It's nothing special in that category, but I do think it's effective. I could stand to make the colors more distinct when some of them blend together a little bit too much. That should be an easy fix when I get to it down the line. Crabrade, the Titan Shot Pokemon. Evolves from Crabrawler when exposed to a Water Stone. The only part of the design I'm not 100% happy with are with the claws themselves. I think I could do a better job with the perspective and the overall shape language. I can't help but love the little mustache on this Pokemon. I just think that's funny. Kyria Wingle, the seagull Pokemon. Based on the seagull's habit of being beach rats, this menace of original variant is very aggressive when trying to steal food. This Pokemon isn't actually supposed to be in the preserve, as they're not in danger, but no matter what, no one can fully drive them out because they're so stubborn. I think the design is actually pretty perfect for what I wanted to do with this Pokemon. Golett, the beach bully Pokemon. This regional evolution is a demon among the beaches of the preserves, violently attacking anything that gets in the way of a meal. They will eat damn near anything that can get down their gullet. Yes, that's why I named it after that. I wanted this Pokemon to be a chunky lad, to really sell the difference between stages while keeping the overall theming going. Fantank, the war elephant Pokemon. Evolves from Donphan when exposed to a metal coat. An evolution method that's probably changing in the reboot. This is based on ancient war elephants. I really love the design, but the pose perspective all around doesn't work as well as it should. I cannot wait to fix this Pokemon in the reboot. Regardless, this was an easy addition to my team. Brinice, the Icy Touch Pokemon. This line is based on Brinicles, a downward-growing hollow tube of ice that forms beneath developing sea ice. I saw a picture of one of these things, and I knew I had to make a Pokemon out of the phenomena. Proportion changes are the name of the game with the reboot. Mainly, I just need to make the face bigger and the body a tad smaller overall. Otherwise, I think this is pretty clever. Graspicle, the Freezing Touch Pokemon. I created this design since Brinicles are also called the Fingers of Death, due to them being harmful to any small sea life that gets too close, as they can be frozen on contact. I almost made this an Ice Ghost type, but I needed Psychic types for balancing, and I imagined this Pokemon freezes their foes in place with ESP before actually freezing them solid. Design-wise, I wouldn't change a thing about this. One day I'll do that Ice Ghost regional form. Geckos, the moss lizard Pokemon. This line is based on Chalcedonian geckos and overall camouflage. The only thing I changed about this Pokemon is to cut down the number of brown splotches across the body. Maybe change the colors of the eyes as well. Otherwise, I like how it came out. Drakamo, the hidden dragon Pokemon. Evolves from Geckos once it gets exposed to a dragon's fang, and this is based on the satanic leaf-tailed gecko. Thankfully, the dreaded and overused army camo isn't on this design too much. I don't think I would change this Pokemon all too much in the reboot. I am going to give it premeditated as the new hidden ability due to their constant misidentification as a grass dark type. Another easy addition to my in-game team. Skip Pebble, the joyful rock Pokemon. This line is based off of skipping rocks across water. I wanted a simple, happy first stage rock type for this design, and this fills all of their roles. Slap a proper texture on this design, and it is good to go. Aerostone, the water skimmer Pokemon. In the reboot, this is definitely going to be a Skystone evolution. My favorite design element is definitely the energy chain linking the rocks together, resembling the motion lines of a rock skipping in illustrations. I gave it water absorb to help deal with the bodies of water they live near, so they just don't sink to the bottom of the ocean or lake. This is going to be so much fun to redraw down the line. Tuneel, the drill tail Pokemon. Based on spaghetti eels and deep sea drilling, this little guy lives typically on the ocean floor due to the weight of their tails. They can bury themselves in the sand to avoid predators like Graspicle or Starzom. I don't think I'd change anything personally. This is just a peak little guy. Drill, the spinning blade Pokemon. Outside of cleaner line work and texture, this Pokemon's also perfect. I know I've been saying that a lot lately. Allow me to have an ego. It loves to challenge bigger foes because it'll have much more surface area to hit them with either their tails or their heads. Athosian Phantom, the stump Pokemon. This regional line is based on burning tree sap after I saw a video of that specific topic once a tree got hit by lightning. While this Pokemon is panicking about its current situation, it doesn't actually feel any real pain about it. I just needed some texture on the stump to really sell this design. Athosian Trevenant, the Elder Tree Pokemon. These Pokemon live in burnt-down forests after a large forest fire, so they can't cause any more accidental damage to their surroundings. Everything I liked about Phantom is made even better here. This isn't the last time you'll see this Pokemon. Keep an eye out for the future. It may be the distant future, but keep an eye out. Beastnop, the ground royal Pokemon. This vein Pokemon is based on a peacock pheasant and diamonds. Honestly, a solid design all around in my eyes. I do wish I leaned into the aloof expression more. Gotta keep up that smug aura in the reboot. Also, keep this Pokemon in mind, but for the next region, it'll be getting some love there. Tadpunch, the head rush Pokemon. This entire line is based off of boxing, with this little goober being training gear. I love that the training gear also looks like a fist. I think that was a great design decision I made back then. Honestly, I just need to give this thing better line work and some touched up colors, and this will be a really, really good first stage Pokemon. Froxer, the throat punch Pokemon. All this Pokemon needs is cleaner line work, and he's cooking. I legit think this is a perfect design outside of that fact. Fun fact, the force of their throat sac inflating can knock over a Copperaja flat. Croakout, the third strike Pokemon. Evolves from Froxer when exposed to a combat stone. Now this design could actually use some work, as something about this is off overall when compared to the previous stages, and I don't know what it is right now. I really do like the tongue being used as a third fist. I think that's a fun design element to work off of. Batricity, the Voltwing Pokemon. This line is based off of painted bats. Honestly, this is kind of a nothing Pokemon despite how marginally cute it is. There's nothing really going on for it. I think I either need to give it another element or just really lean into the cuteness as a something to run off of in the reboot. It's just too plain. Horoptera, the Thunderbat Pokemon. Thankfully, the evolution here has more going on visually I can actually talk about. The addition of the blue really makes the other colors pop while standing out against them as well. Other than the feet needing a bit of a touch-up, I think this Pokemon's overall still pretty good. Cyclet, the blind Esper Pokemon. I based this line off of Auklets and old blind martial arts masters and the like. I made their extra long feathers in the front act like a walking stick for them in conjunction with their ESP. Some of the proportions definitely need to change, mainly the wings in this case. The face pattern could also benefit from a rework as well. S-Blind, the Mind Detector Pokemon. It uses the whiskers on its face to sense the world around it, never touching the ground no matter what. Thankfully, any changes I need to make for this Pokemon should be easier than with the pre-evolution. Mainly the leg perspective here is what I feel needs to change. Cephaloshock, the electric squid Pokemon. The evolved form of Octillery was exposed to a Thunderstone. This is based on colossal squids and railguns. I need to seriously retool this design as I've seen some great Octillery Evos that make me really want to step up my game. Thankfully the color scheme can stay the same, it's just the pose that needs the biggest overhaul. Hatcharock, the armor whale Pokemon. The main predator of Cephaloshock based on sperm whales. This colossal Pokemon is pretty damn good in my eyes. This was a water rock type prior to the Texkin reboot, but I changed it to a sound type based on how loud whale calls can be. This was a lock-in for my endgame team. Bactonian Stunky, the skunk Pokemon. Not the most original idea, but I wanted to flip the line on its head at the time by making them smell pleasant. Honestly, I think the design for this line is pretty good overall. Only thing I might add to this design is more hot pink on the tail for some color balancing. Bactonian Skuntank, the skunk Pokemon. I think this Pokemon could benefit from another color added to the design, but sometimes simplicity is best. Better line work is all that's absolutely needed for this Pokemon otherwise. I really like the shiny I got here. Gastor, the Iron Shell Pokemon. Based on the scaly-footed gastropod, this is just a simple, clean design in my eyes. I could make the eyes a tad bigger in the reboot now that I think about it. I gave it liquid metal because of the iron deposits near volcanic vents being their premier food source and the real-life animal shell having a lot of iron sulfides in it. Steelopod, the Iron Shell Pokemon. I added the black to the design to better reference the source material and the spikes just for some visual flair. I made the lower body look serrated to incorporate the unique foot shape of the basis animal. I made the eyes like this to add some contrast and give that much needed splash of color. They might be getting a little bit of work too now that I take a second look at them. Adolescent, the impressionable Pokemon. Based on impressionable children and generic dinosaurs, this little goober is perfect in my eyes. Except for the lack of a neck. That'll need to change. The egg yolk covering the body is my favorite design detail. This is one of the few mons in this region with a split evolution, this time being based around friendship levels, which I don't play around with because they suck. Dragov, the love dragon Pokemon. The evolved form of Adolescent when it reaches max friendship. I wanted this Pokemon to feel kind, but powerful. The only thing I might change is getting it slightly bigger eyes to feel a little bit more cutesy. Biggest thing I will definitely have to change are the hands. I'm not happy with them at all. Pose change also probably couldn't hurt. Drakerid, the Rage Dragon Pokemon. Evolves from Adolescent when it reaches the lowest friendship level possible. This is the stronger of the two possible evolutions design-wise, but that could just be the 12-year-old edgelord in me talking. The feet are the biggest thing I'm going to have to change in the reboot this time around. They just don't look good to me. Charizard, the tunnel lizard Pokemon. This is based on slow worms, aka legless lizards. These things live underground most of their lives, which is why I have the tail shielding its face from the sunlight. I love this Pokemon's simplicity. I don't think I'd actually change that much about it. Skeleterra, the ghost tail Pokemon. Evolves when Charizard loses its tail in a fight. Probably going to be an Ectostone evolution in the reboot, just for simplicity. I based this design off of a picture of a slow worm skull. Hell, that's what spawned the entire idea of this line. The ectoplasm tail and the shed skin collar are my favorite things about this design. I think the only thing I really need to touch up are the teeth in the reboot. Kyria Phalanx, the formation Pokemon. Generally based around army ants, I'm torn on whether or not I want to make this a convergent species in the reboot or keep it as is. Either way, I love how this design came out. It was a pain to do at the time, but this was more than worth it. I really love how the colors came out. Phalanx, the anthill Pokemon. The evolved form of Kyria Phalanx, I'm going to make this boy a Hivestone evolution in the reboot. Based on anthills primarily, this design is as good as I think I could have gotten, minus any potential texturing. This is just a really fun regional evolution to play around with. Flamejolt, the serene fire Pokemon. Now I'm going to beat around the bush. This Pokemon is awful. I had just gotten over a bout of COVID when I drew this mon, and I am not happy about it whatsoever. It's based on the flame angelfish, and I could have done so much more with that. I cannot wait to fix this utter disappointment in the reboot. Iceparator, the frozen berry Pokemon. Based on blue monitor lizards, I wanted to play around with different Pokemon berries, so this mon is based around Aspare berries. Outside of the legs just being general hot garbage, I think this design mostly succeeds. I shouldn't have too much of a hard time fixing it down the line. Paradise, the tiny soldier Pokemon. Based on brown sicklebills and ancient soldiers, this was a fun little line to mess around with. This has one of the cleanest shinies in the entire preserve. Not much more to say about this Pokemon since it's kind of peak as is. Fastaslice, the sword feather Pokemon. Outside of the render on the giant sword tail feather, I think this is another peak design in my not-so-humble opinion. The eye angle is also off slightly. I'm going to have to fix that now that I look at it. Cistadrain, the stomach bug Pokemon. Based on tapeworms, this is a Pokemon I had been meaning to make for a while, since tapeworms already look like monsters. No joke, look them up. The poison drool adds a lot to the design in my eyes, as they coat themselves in it to prevent stomach acid from digesting them. Fun fact, they're the main predator for Snorlax. Athosian seal, the spirit seal Pokemon. Based on the sadly extinct Caribbean monk seal, which were hunted to make wax a long time ago combined with overfishing. I wanted this to feel like a sad spirit, but I don't think I took that far enough design-wise. I think I could probably make it wispier. Athosian Dugong, the Spectral Oil Pokemon. It's better overall. The only thing I think I would fix is removing the covering for the Spectral Candle in their stomach area. I leaned into the wax angle of their extinction, as morbid as that is. I think the design is stronger for it. Rescuon, the Search and Rescue Pokemon. The normal type evolution I probably put in the thumbnail. This evolves from Eevee once it levels up knowing Helping Hand. This is based on search and rescue animals, mainly St. Bernards, with a smidge of the Finnick Fox from regular Eevee. This is one of my favorite evolutions. The only thing I change is adding a smidge more orange to the design. Fairleon, the rabbit Pokemon. Evolves from Eevee when exposed to a combat stone. This is based on a Jackalope, for reasons that escape my current memory. Odd choice of basis aside, I think I kind of cooked with this design. The colors really pop, and the personality comes through pretty nicely. Yeah, this isn't going to change all too much down the line. Frillfrost, the eel shark Pokemon. The most unique fossil mon in my catalog, since these guys, and their basis, aren't actually extinct. They're based on frilled sharks, which are basically living fossils, so that's where the idea of the line came from. I think this and the evolution are some of the strongest fossil designs I've ever done. Frost, the living fossil Pokemon. The last member of my in-game team, this big old boy is damn near perfect. Though I do wish I added some more details on the main fin. Other than that, I have no notes. Trudokid, the tiny spark Pokemon. Revived from the feather fossil, this is based on the general Trudonid species. This might be the weakest fossil design I had done up until this point. The leg positions don't make sense, the expression could use some work, and the proportions leave a lot to be desired. These are easy fixes, but it's still annoying. Trudabird, the Fireclaw Pokemon. I could have made this a Pyro Raptor, and honestly, I might still do that in the reboot. Either way, this is a much better design than his Prevo. Outside of the potential change in species entirely, I don't know what else I would really do about this line. Tyground, the Mudstalker Pokemon. The pseudo-legendary of the Preserve, this is based on Indian tigers. This line is often the target of poachers and royalty alike. In the wild, they coat themselves in mud to hide and stalk their prey. The ability there is mainly just help to deal with their water weakness. Terriger, the ground cat Pokemon. I added some army officer attire to the design, mainly the energy feather on the top of their heads. They were used in wars of old alongside Fantank. Not sure what else I'd change about the design at the moment. I'm pretty happy with this entire line overall. Tygeneral, the royal cat Pokemon. I added some white tiger to the design in order to differentiate more in the evolutionate line. The sword tail is stupid, but a fun design element that I was happy to add. They are rarely found in the neighboring regions from where they're from. One I might be covering in the future. God, I use fairy a lot in my pseudo-legendaries. Regimind, the Enlightenment Pokemon. Yeah, you're seeing this. I added new Reggies to the lore. This Reggie is based off the Enlightenment period in human history. The spectral arms being based around the Vitruvian man. This thing was created by Reggie Gigas to explore the secrets of the universe. Of my Reggie trio, this is probably the best executed design. Regiwar, the War Titan Pokemon. Based on the Viking Age, this was created to combat the final Reggie of my trio by Regimind itself. This is probably my favorite of the Reggie trio. The hammer, arms, and the wild mane/fur was fun to design. I had to give it horns even if Vikings didn't have them on their helmets. I know. I'm thinking of adding more detail to some of the body parts like runes on the hammers, which I think will add a lot to the design. Regivoid, the black hole Pokemon. The most ambitious of my Reggie designs, this is based on the space race era. I honestly really love this concept, especially with the black hole torso, but the design overall just needs some tweaks. Mainly the planets making up its limbs need more love and attention in their renders. Neverfly, the Cosmos Wing Pokemon. Based on the Butterfly Cosmos, this legendary probably needs the most work in the reboot. I want to make the wings out of energy in the next go around to really sell the legendary factor. I use space a lot in my legendaries now that I've been doing these breakdowns. Serplanet, the world serpent Pokemon. My favorite legendary of the Preserve. This is based on Jormungandr. Yeah, we have that with Zygarde, I know. But I wanted to do one my way, so there. I think this design is perfect, especially with the Molten Core shiny color scheme. I wouldn't change a thing about this. Frozelworm, the chilling toxin Pokemon. The last of the Apex trio. That's what they're called, FYI. This is based on a Totzelworm. I'll be honest, I added this Pokemon just to balance out the other two legendaries, and I wanted to play around by making an ice poison type. Not much I would change about this design other than making the colors in some spots more vibrant. As random for a legendary as this is, I can't help but love it. Well, that's it for the Kyria Preserve. I actually really love this region on a second glance, even if there are more than a few duds that need reworking down the line. But this was a good turning point for me. I started getting into my groove around this time, and I think I've only gotten better with each region. This is also when I started adding abilities to my dex layouts. Keep an eye on a few of these Pokemon going into future regions. I revisited the mons in this region more than once. Next up on the Fakemon World Tour, grab some sunscreen. We're going to the Xenia region. This is Austin, signing out.